coming. We burning and we burning and we burning and we burning. Oh, yeah. Peter, stop pushing. It have plenty more coming. They call them from overseas, but leave my low key. During my lifetime, to me they were so unkind. So much corruption that they make. Now it is time they must feel me way. Peter, Peter, don't hold me back. Look, the one we drop the public order. Money, money. Peter, look, catch that big belly fella. We carry my money down Panama. Money, money. Peter, Peter, look, the woman who bring foreign troops in the Caribbean. Punchy, punchy. Peter, I just don't care what you do, but go ahead, go in the fire too. Money, money. Why? This is my time for money. I'm burning and I'm burning and I'm burning and I'm burning. Blazing, blazing, blazing. This is your time for money. We're burning and we're burning and we're burning and we're burning. Coming, coming, coming.
Cecil Roads by the gate.
transmit by the gate. Peter, I don't want you to make fuss. Remember, I want Christopher Columbus. Peter, look, the English woman who in South Africa refused to put sanctions. Peter, I just don't care what you do, but Reagan.
Lennox, if you hear me, something wrong with your audio, because I'm not hearing any phone, I'm not hearing any TV. So check your audio and see what's going on, because I'm not hearing any phone, because the music in the background, jogging weight is the same. So you gotta check your system, something wrong. I ain't said you hearing any phone, but I'll show you hearing me. Alright, so you go check it out. Me. Your hand done full already. You don't deal with the Führer. Go ahead and take Foster. But that woman Mary, remember that's my baby. So much confusion that she make. You got to give Black Stallion a break. Peter wait, I say Peter wait. Peter look boat a reach by the gate. Money. Reporter, I don't want you to waste time. Remember we still have Morgan behind. Money. English woman who sent foreign troops in Africa land. Punching. Peter, I just don't care what you say. The Ku Klux Klan man can't get away. Why? Blazing. A burning. Hit me. Come in. We're burning. Oh, yeah. Peter, stop pushing. It have plenty more coming. They call them from overseas, but leave my low-key. During my lifetime, to me they were so unkind. So much corruption that they make. Now it is time they must feel me way. Peter, don't hold me back. Look, the one we draft the Public Order Act. Money. Peter, look, catch that big belly fella. We carry my money down Panama. Money. Peter, look, the woman who bring foreign troops in the Caribbean. Punching. Peter, I just don't care what you do, but ball head going in the fire too. Blazing. We're burning. Coming. Burn them, old man. Jano. Hit me now.
begging the master, give me a walk with Peter. If I come sinners coming, with them I go be dealing. Because the things that they do me, I want to fix them personally. Peter wait, Peter look Cecil Rhodes by the gate. Peter look the Englishman, we send Cecil Rhodes to Africa land. Peter take Drake, take Raleigh, but leave Victoria for me. Peter I just don't care what you say, but Mussolini he can't get away. Why?
This is my time for Monday.
I'm burning and I'm burning and I'm burning and I'm burning. Blazing, 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 blazing.
This is your time for Monday.
I'm burning and I'm burning and I'm burning and I'm burning.
Fire coming.
Peter, you don't know the pressure that I undergo from these madman and woman. I feel the full weight of the hand. They made the oppressed law. They never care about the poor. Peter, these people had a day. Well, now it's time for Stalin to play. Peter, wait, I say Peter, wait. Peter, look, Ian Smith by the gate.
Money.
Peter, I don't want you to make fuss. Remember, I want Christopher Columbus.
Money.
Peter, look, the English woman who on South Africa refused to put sanctions. Peter, I just don't care what you do, but Reagan going in the fire too. Why?
This is my time for Monday. Fire blazing.
Blazing, blazing.
This is your time for Monday.
Burning and we burning and we burning and we burning.
Fire coming.
Hit me now.
Testing one. Oh.
Peter, don't grudge me. Your hand done full already. You done deal with the Führer. Go ahead and take Foster. But that woman Mary, remember that's my baby. So much confusion that she make. You got to give Black Stalin a break. Peter, wait, I say Peter, wait. Peter, look, voter reach by the gate.
Money.
With voter, I don't want you to waste time. Remember, we still have Morgan behind.
Money.
Peter, look, the English woman who sent foreign troops in Africa land.
Punching.
Yes, indeed, of course. My apology. You know, all that time, the mic was off. But I don't know, this technology is shocking. I look at all over the place. And of course, the mic was off. But let's start again. That shouldn't stop us. Tenacity, of course, is what I consider to be the mother of invention, just as perseverance. Yes, indeed. And of course, necessity is also the mother of invention, all of which are, of course, appropriate in this case. But let's bond them. The person who called it, thank you very much, of course, for that heads up. But of course, I think we have rectified it, and now we can, of course, proceed with a proper program. Yes, indeed.
But leave my loogie during my lifetime. To me, they were so unkind. So much corruption that they make. Now it is time they must feel me weight. Peter, don't hold me back. Look, the one we drop the public order.
Money.
Peter, look, catch that big belly fella. We carry my money down Panama.
Money.
Peter, look, the woman who bring foreign troops in the
Yes, indeed, of course.
If you're a community leader searching for true success stories, You'll want to hear this.
Pleasant good night to all and sundry, East, West, North, South, and Central. Yes, Prime Minister Modi will be in the country, the Indian Prime Minister, and therefore, of course, we have a duty, of course, to give you a little heads up as to what's happening. Because there are those who are saying, well, the order of Trinidad and Tobago ought not to be bestowed. We will deal with that and disabuse it one time tonight.
Affairs iTech program, a micro-business incubator initiative took root right here, coordinated by the ever-dedicated Mr. Dada Gabriel from LFL. 7 years ago, this journey began with training, sacrifice, and microfinancing, all made possible by India's vision for global partnership. Today, we're celebrating a week-long observance of this initiative, a testament to what's possible when nations and communities unite. Mr. Dada Gabriel's expertise, shaped by entrepreneurial management training in India, has driven a grassroots movement that's generating wealth, creating jobs, and building peace and security right here in our neighborhoods. This week marks more than just an anniversary. It's a celebration of resilience, collaboration, and opportunity. From Sunday, June 29th to Friday, July 4th, we're honoring the impact of this initiative, with community leaders, business groups, banks, credit unions, and government officials all coming together. And as we prepare to welcome the Indian High Commissioner at our closing event, we say a heartfelt thank you to the government and people of India.
Yes, indeed. A pleasant good night, my friend. Thank you very much for that heads up.
No problem, Mr. Lennox. No problem. Lennox, I ain't staying now. I just want to find out something from you.
Yes, go ahead.
The Prime Minister of India, they say he gets some medal. Where does he get this medal for?
No, you will see tonight where he got medals, where he got awards from all over the globe. Not just. So Trinidad is just another stop. But of course, he has gotten because of the role of India that he pursued in so far as addressing the question of COVID. He has gotten an award in terms of the economic advancement of India. In the case, of course, of medicine, India is considered right now to be the engine room, if you want to call that, for the production of pharmaceuticals across the globe. And there are a number of other awards, which you will see tonight, as I put that together tonight so you'll understand. Huh?
Don't say no more. I will listen off here, right?
Okay, yes.
I just want to get an insight. I will listen off here.
Yes, no problem. And of course, having said that, let me just play over, of course, our own welcoming ad that we have put. And I want to say today we had a press conference where, of course, it was a two-prong approach. Today, you'll see tomorrow probably in the Express and so on, because the traditional media, even though they were invited, and claimed that they would make their effort. I suppose we will deal with that sometime later after, of course, Prime Minister Modi would have left the country. But of course, you might see it in one of the two, or at least two of the dailies, where of course we castigated the present leadership of the PNM to, of course, show and make a comparison that, of course, they never mean well. It is about themselves. It is always, of course, something that is sinister. But of course, to generate self-aggrandizement as their gormandizing nature, their greedy nature, their avarice, and their fixation on the treasury of Trinidad and Tobago is not just monumental, but of course is non-deflective. In other words, that's their purpose for living, to get to the treasury of Trinidad and Tobago through, of course, the electoral process. They get there, and then, of course, they couch themselves, or they insulate themselves from the population with the cloak of legality to rule, and then, of course, rule arbitrarily, rule evilly, rule in their own interests, and that small group of elitist individuals. Now we know that they are solidly in favor of a small group of persons managing the affairs of the country in their own interest rather than that of the population, and the population is secondary. The population is merely there to, of course, cushion them and to promote them and propel them to the highest offices in the country. Well, those days are over. Those days are over, and today, of course, in a stinging press conference, we identified their modus operandi in that regard. We bring back, of course, Section 34. We bring back.
Lennox, I want to listen off here.
Oh yes, sir. Yeah. Sorry, brother. I thought you were off already. I thought you did it on your side. Yes, Section 34. We identified, of course, Rishmi. We identified, of course, those fake emails. We then, of course, went on to show where they harass out of office the government of the NAR. Remember that? When they said that somebody put a dragon on the Red House and all kind of shenanigans in order, of course, to get these people out. And then they harass, of course, the late great, of course, and founder of the UNC. I talk about Basdio Pandey. And of course, the creme de la creme, the ultimate, was when, of course, Robinson, the ultimate betrayal, when, of course, in the 1818 scenario, he said, based on, of course, spiritual and some other value that had no place in the decision making, but pure vendetta. Pure vendetta. He gave the prime ministerial position to the PNM. The man who, of course, was the recipient or the beneficiary of that, being, of course, the former late prime minister under the PNM. I'm talking about Patrick Manning. Yes, we went back there. And we also went, of course, when Rowley, in addition to all of that, concocted and got to the Woodford Square to say, and of course, and with the support of the trade union movement, very important, and independent senators such as Helen Drayton. You see, the question of the independent senators and their betrayal to the people and not acting in the best interest of the people, and they're being selected by a president that would have been selected by the PNM, is not new. And so you shouldn't be surprised. You should not be surprised. But it's a good thing you have the ground report, you have, of course, corridor transformation and others. Don't forget, of course, we close off at 9:30, and we will, of course, break it down to 9 o'clock, so 1 hour ultimately. But right now it's an hour and a half. But the point I am making is that today we had to put things in perspective, and we called out Al-Rari, we called out, of course, Penaldu Beckles, we called out, of course, Marvin Gonzalez, and all those multiple spokespersons that are now, of course, talking as though they did not do anything wrong to Trinidad and Tobago. Just imagine that. Before they keep apologizing all over the place and all over Trinidad, so that we could feel a sense of genuineness in them. It turns out that they continue, of course, with their shenanigans, just as Manning did, just as Rowley did, and now, of course, Penny. We are not going to fall victim to their vagaries and their square peg and round hole arguments and their innuendos and their misinformation, disinformation, and of course coining things, fashioning things to their own delight and their own, of course, narrative in order to, of course, engage at the end of the day pernicious acts when they unfortunately would have gotten into office. And we know there is no more PNM, no more. They have become extinct. And of course, they themselves would not realize that because they believe that it could be their last hurrah, that they want you to believe that somehow they didn't do what we have experienced, they have done to us over the last 9 years before the 28th of April. Let us not waste time. So, of course, the other aspect of today's press conference was the role of LFL and the benefits that we would have gotten. And of course, in celebration of our 7th anniversary of the micro business initiative that we have taken since 2019, of course, decimated by the advent of COVID-19 in 2020. But most of the businesses have survived, and we thought we should celebrate. If you look inside of here now, you would see, of course, quite a lot of Indian flags, because it is the Indian government that, of course, repose their trust in us and give us the first opportunity as Gabriel Dada, the political, should I say, my political vice or my political deputy. Gabriel Dada, you'll hear him from time to time, was sent to India at the sponsorship, or on the sponsorship of the Indian government, to look at, of course, entrepreneurial management. And he spearheaded, of course, that initiative. He's the coordinator of the Lavantil for Lavantillian, LFL. We have several institutions, so you would understand, for different purposes. Lavantil for Lavantillians is, of course, a purely community-based, as is Love, but from a political perspective. But LFL is a community-based NGO-type initiative that was designed to, of course, address certain specific problems, particularly in the area of the economics and the commercial side of things, because we have to develop our own institutions, our own economic institutions that could now generate employment opportunities, that could build a cadre of businessmen, so that when anybody comes to us and playing the fool, we can dip into our own coffers and, of course, sponsor whatever project there may be. Of course, there are other things that over time we will, of course, unveil, as we did, of course, today with respect to that press conference. I'm going to tell you, there were several questions that were asked, and when they thought that we were not abreast and were not thinking about it, and talking about the journalists, we were able, of course, to answer with a high degree, not only of certainty, but with the developmental agenda focused on our minds. I can tell you, for example, that when we were speaking to the journalists, we did tell them that one of our major focus is to sanitize and to get rid of the notion that governments of across the globe is saying, don't come to Trinidad, and if you do come, don't go Lavantil, don't go Nelson Street, and so on. We were able, of course, to show them where our program is designed to eliminate, to annihilate all of that. But let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Hello, Mr. Lennox.
A pleasant good night to you, my friend.
Good night to you. Good night to you.
Yes, man.
Yeah, man. I like how you're staying focused to bring back Trinidad, man.
Yes, man. Has to be. We have to do it. Must do it.
Yes. You must, man. Listen, for people like you, is a blessing to see how Trinidad is going to come back to where it was, man. Trinidad got to come like a Dubai, man. Everybody got to be happy.
And it should have been so a long time ago. But the curse called the PNM, the exploitation of the resources and the people is unpardonable, and they are looking still to do so, and we must expose them. Go ahead.
Yes. I always watch your show, man. I'm calling from New Jersey, and you know who just
yes, man. Yeah, man. Thanks, man. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yes,
listen, back in the days when I used to live in Trinidad. I used to be all in Never Dirty, more far. I have a sister that live in up the hill in Bonds Road.
Right. Yeah, and today, of course, is a place where you would have difficulty to go. Yes, I agree with you. We have to bring back that camaraderie.
Bring it back, man. I like if it come back. I tell my niece and them, I say, listen, Trinidad gonna be better pretty soon. Always have a little patience.
That's right. That's all.
Have a little patience. That's it. All right. So
yes.
Lennox, all the best, man. I will stay in touch.
Thank you. And whenever, of course, you could make any kind of contribution, we'll appreciate. Just call me.
I will.
Yes.
I know that.
All right. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, because this is a task. this is a Herculean task. It's a,
telling you.
it's a monolithic task. It is a huge task. But of course, with people like you on the one hand, and of course people like myself who are here, willing of course to take on our shoulders this what I consider to be at last
This
type
task, this task.
vision, then we will make it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes,
All right,
indeed.
thank you.
Yes, man. Yes, indeed. Of course, I did ask where he's calling from, but certainly, of course, it has to be. When he say he's not living, when he used to, so it means therefore he's living outside. Sound like it's the United States. So maybe he could call back and let us know exactly what part of the world of the globe that he is, of course, calling from. That being as it may, of course, people, let us go back, of course, to. All right, we have another caller. Let's take that one time because we give way to always the callers. A pleasant good night to welcome to the corridor.
Good night to you, Uncle Lennox, and all your listeners, and
Yes, man.
all and sundry. Share the life. We need the 40,000
Yes,
to
man.
climb, and we need 40,000 in cash to do the other fine work.
So important. So
So
important.
any one of the 40,000 will do.
Yeah. Today, when I show the journalists and them all the equipment we have of course a very expensive photocopying machine. We have of course three computers plus a laptop, and they were wondering where we get the money from. And say that is because of the love that the people have and all the services that we provide here, whether it be employment opportunities, whether it be registering for food card, etc. And keeping that record, and people of course putting in their input, using their skills to of course utilize all of this, chairs and all of that is in the facility. And I told them we are doing all of that for free. They couldn't believe. As you walk off the streets and you come in here, we ask no question as to your status in terms of contribution, and we not like the PNM. We don't ask people for their and give them any means test. We don't do that. We just serve them. Go ahead, my friend.
And the only means that they have is to be within means and come have that true mind. And Uncle Lennox, now you see this topic we on here of your organization and the love for Laventille, right?
Yes.
Now I want to ask some questions tonight. I would like the callers to bear with me because we going for only 9:30.
Yes.
But it's something I want to interview you tonight.
No problem.
You will be my guest. And I ask the kind patience of the listeners and if we followers on this program. And you just tell me when to shut up. That is all.
I hear you. Yes. Go ahead.
Now, Uncle Lennox, I would like to ask you, Keith Scotland and the other Rasta one who could not take a young address, but you had to get an old address at 99, right? Because
Yes.
in 99 years old, the old address could not work in England. It's only a young one, right?
Yes.
A fresh, now, boy them Leonson, right?
Yes.
Now, why I calling them two names? I think your boundary, the detachment area, will be touching on these two immediate constituencies.
Definite. Yeah. Belmont will comprise a part of Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West. Of course, on the hills, St. Barb's, etc., will comprise part of Laventille West, where Fitzgerald Hines was, and of course the previous one would have been, of course, where Stuart Young is. So go ahead. So you're right. Go ahead.
Right. So there is 5. There is 1,
And
2, 3,
yes,
4.
and of course, Scotland, where we are located right here now, is in, of course, Port of Spain South. So go ahead.
Right. So there is Scotland. There is Young.
Yes.
There is Fitzgerald Hines.
Yes.
And there is Leonson.
Yes.
There is 4 of them, right?
Yes.
Right. PNM just demit office after 10 years. 10 years. They rule that constituency for the last semester, right? Let me put
Yes.
it that way.
Yeah. You could give it some academic terms. Go ahead. Yes.
Right? So, in the 12th Parliament, I would like to ask you what delivery, so people will know what I'm talking about. I see 2020 to 2025 Parliament, the 12th Parliament. So I would like to ask you, these
Go ahead, caller. Go ahead. I don't think I'm disturbing you. Go ahead. You go ahead. I'm talking to someone on the phone.
Oh, sorry. Right. So these 4 areas and 4 ministers within that area, what was the services they had provided for the citizens in this area? How did they had put the revenue of the state to trickle down to these citizens in these 4 constituencies? Excuse me, right? And what is the services they had rendered on to the citizen? Because we see that Donna Cox was telling the citizen that they had to go through a means test to get a food card. They had to go through a means test to get the book grant. They had to go through a means test to even get public assistance. So I want to know, in the constituency office of these 4 members of parliament, what they have done and what they have bring to ease doing business for the constituencies in the area, for the people. You have taken up on your own initiative for over 15 years to bring the services and ease of doing and getting access to government public institutions to get the assistance they need. So, Uncle Lennox, is it that the publicity and the recognition is shortcoming because of political affiliation to other people? Because just imagine, you had taken up the mantle with 4 MP and representatives. They do for their supporters and them. But yet still no. The people, that's the choice. And mainstream media is it fit to give you the airtime or the little opening to let the wider Trinidad and Tobago see that Mr. Lennox Smith is doing human service in his constituency to get the people properly registered, fill out a form, get an opportunity to apply for employment?
Go ahead, go ahead, Mr. Faizabad.
Yeah, so, and you are doing this though, so that when they fill out a form, it was submitted to the different ministries, and yet still you are working for outside through the embassies and them to get those who are qualified. Because remember, we had spoken on this show that you had those who can a quick fix or URP, a little CPEP, a little women's program. Then you graduate, those who have the more little thing to get a little temporary work. And then it had those who could get clerk and other work and outside.
Yes.
So Uncle Lennox, why it is that mainstream media is keep pushing the narrative of 13 people who know that they use the citizens as political pawns, as I say, to keep voting for them and afraid that they lose the voter base? No, they should have not. And I want all I asking, no, in closing here, all I asking that Keith Scotland, Marvin Gonzalez, Penelope Beckles, I would like all and Foster Cummins, please talk the truth and tell the people who employ with CPEP that the government of the day is terminating all your appointed political stooges who deprive the same workers and them the rightful earning and upliftment, right? And that all the contractors are getting, according to the contract, the termination of the contract, only 1 month full salary, right? And the government reserve the right at the day, and the minister reserve the right to make the choice, because the Trinidad and Tobago had voted against corruption. Thank you, Uncle Lennox, and the listening public.
Thank you very much. Of course, I will respond, I will respond and make some comments on what you just said, but we have another caller on the handset. Go ahead, caller. Go ahead, caller. Just wait. There's a little issue. All right, okay. Sorry about it. Right, go ahead now. Go ahead. Yeah, sorry. I omitted to engage the speaker. But go ahead.
Right. I'm about to pick your foot off.
No problem.
You go on a pass it and you say you don't pass it.
You say what?
I say you came on a pass it.
Yeah.
And you say you finish a pass it.
Yes, yeah. I came on a pass it, you sure? Yeah. I might have. Yeah. All right, okay, good. I'll have to correct that. I'll have to make some amendments. So my apology. Go ahead.
Right. And your first caller, who called and said he say he living in New Jersey. You should live in Bonjour, but you now living in New Jersey.
Yes. Oh, he said New Jersey. I didn't hear that part. That's why I asked what part. Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Yes.
Right, Lennox, when people go on mad is a hell of a thing, eh? You could imagine Mava Gonzalez, Kamala never used it by Moody, the Prime Minister, as an excuse to fire these CPR brokers, honestly. But he's going to go to the minor.
Well, it is clear, and the fact that they are tending towards, of course, inciting violence. That's the only one of the outcome of the very belligerent and what I consider to be bellicose language, because it is intended to do that. They have, of course, commingled and tried to not be discerning in that 300 contractors cannot be converted just so to 10,000 people.
At all.
So we know what the intention is. The intention is to get that mass. And notice, they never speak first about the 10,000, They speak about the contractors first. Always the contractors first. Observe that. The contractors first, then the 10,000. Why? Because they know that in their subconscious, or their subconsciousness, the 300 is legitimate. But they have to include the 10,000 in order to, of course, emphasize their nefarious intent.
Yes,
because the 300 is not sufficient. 300 is not sufficient. And the argument against them, that is to say, the argument for the government dismissing them, is so airtight that they have to, of course, find a way to elasticize, to make it more elastic, yes, and to, of course, look at the 10,000 to make their agenda seem to be legitimate, when in fact it is illegitimate, nonsensical, asinine, and is self-serving. But go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, and the next one, Paris Harari.
Well,
Lennox, he went mad, but he never come back saying he got more mad.
Yes.
He called it on Clyde and the trade unions to join with them. These fellas now get in the parliament. Clyde and Louisiana, right? And you call it for them to match with you? That ain't total madness.
But I was telling you, they are so consumed with hate,
yes,
that they are not in a position to exude hate on the people, their evil intent. Because let's face it, when a man is so aggressive about attempting to sanitize himself on the one hand, and ignoring the fact that if they had gotten into office, they would put more pain on the people. They're asking where the money coming from. More pain on the people. Property tax. They have of course introduced another tax where if you import things, online tax, you're getting that.
Tax,
yeah, you're getting greater or increase in electricity, in water, on port charges. They wanted to sell the port to somebody, and therefore to import things much more expensive. I mean, these people are despicable. Yeah, they're despicable, and getting in our faces because the traditional media have an affinity to them. Imagine, of course, I call a press conference today, and not one of the television stations, including, of course, TDT. But, of course, I know why now there was a mistake that we made. So we're going to correct that, and we're going to have them here, because that is a government facility. So they ought to be interested in programs like what we are doing here to advance the community. So I'm going to complain, and then, of course, and at the same time have them comply.
But I don't want to be here, because I'm going to die out just now.
Yeah, but in the meantime, we will use them for what they can provide.
Well, what you see overplaying your hand, Lennox?
Yes.
At the end of you, right?
Yeah.
You see, and he said that him taking on my salary, and you think like that them going to get in government and come on you and make noise. They know all the racket what was going on there, they hear what was going on.
Of course they do.
So
that's why the people voted for them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Al-Rawi, he was never saying in my book, as always tell you the blasted guns, right?
Oh yes, and he continues to sow exhibits. Yeah.
Like he remained in ABC, he never moved forward.
Yeah. He seemed to have been stunted there. Maybe something in growth in growth context, in the growth context, like Imsbert. He stunt.
He stunt.
Yeah.
But the butt is only about 4 feet.
The midget,
put on
yes.
a cowboy boot, you know.
Yeah. And still can't reach the grade.
He still can't reach
the height that they're looking for, yes.
Lennox, the government had to worry them fellas right now.
No, if people like us have to defend the government and have to, of course, insulate them from these kinds of excursions that could have, in the wrong hands and in the wrong minds, generate some disturbance, and we don't even want that. So they mustn't get any foothold whatsoever.
At all.
Yes.
We have you go report, we have you here any night.
That's right. That is what this is all about. Yes.
And the government giving them the truth like
yes,
this.
man. Yes, man. All right.
We'll talk.
Yes, we'll talk. Yes. All right. Okay, my friend. Yes, indeed. Of course, I know there are several calls coming in between, so you can call now. We are off the line. When we are on the handset, sometimes, of course, the system itself seems to reject, and we don't have a waiting system as yet. We will look into that in due course, but let us deal with what we have. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Hello, good night.
Good night, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah. This is San Fernando,
go ahead, San Fernando.
Yeah. I was listening just now to, I think Mr. Faizabad.
Yes.
Yeah. We must understand something, you know. What I want to say tonight is this. Right? That these people like Faris Alwari, Donna Cox, Penny Beckles, and they don't have any vision, you know. Because listen to me. No, let's just take Faris Alwari. He has what? Silk behind his name.
And I say artificial silk, but go ahead.
Yeah, but how do you get silk? If you have to get silk, you have to do something extraordinary.
That's right.
Right? And if you have not done anything extraordinary in your life, how you getting silk? I can't understand that.
Neither young, nothing. They just blasé, they just common, and yet still, of course, because of politics and an evil man called Rowley, he, of course, encouraged that kind of mediocrity.
Right. No. Okay. Now, the reason why I tell you they have no vision, I'm going back to the other night when I spoke to you on the ad hominem situation.
Yes.
Now, this ad hominem is not, it sounds big, right, and complicated, but it's not complicated. It's very fair. It's very easy to understand it. And I'll take you down the road of, the other night I took you down the road of the Red Indians in America who were treated unfairly.
Yes, you did.
They were
yes.
targeted, right? But it's a common, what I was saying the other night is a common thing around the world, right? Because when you look at it, the slave trade suffered that very badly in ad hominem laws and things like that, because what happened during the slave trade when the slaves were freed, right? Remember, they were supposed to be paid reparations.
Yes.
Right? And what the authorities did was to pass laws for them to get reparations. But who took the reparations? Not the slaves, you know. It's the slave masters that took the reparations that were supposed to be paid to the slaves.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, because there was an economic loss. That was the argument at the time.
That was the argument.
Yes. Of the imagine using of course human beings to say that you own them, and because my own ownership has been dislodged or discontinued. Right. Of other human beings, you have to be compensated for it. I mean, that is awful. But go ahead.
No, even Haiti and all passed through that kind of thing with the French.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Because of the and Haiti had to pay back money to
reparations. Yes.
So, right, that was also unfair. That's to Haiti.
And I think they have not yet completed the payment up to today.
Right. You understand? No, I'm going on a lot of road here, right? And some people may not what I want to say, but it could be it's explainable, right? But some people who are are going down to the Bible. The Bible has, right, a lot of instances where ad hominem was used in it, right? Treatment of being fair. And one of the stories, I want to see if you could guess which story I would turn to. The story begins, the whole issue surrounding it begins with the letter C, and then R, and then U. I want to see if you could guess what that is talking about.
Well, clearly it's not Christ, because I know you in it.
Yes, it's Christ. It's Christ I'm talking about. It's crucifixion.
All right, okay. Well, you say you know.
C-R-U, Christ.
C-R-U? C-R-I-S-T. Yeah.
Begins with the whole situation begins with C-R-U, and it is the crucifixion of Christ.
Oh, I see. Crucifixion of Christ. All right, okay, right. So I was partially right.
Right.
You gotta say C-R-U and say what?
No, these people feel that we don't understand what these things mean. And like Paris and Wari and instead of Faris Alwari going down the road of what the Attorney General was saying, deal with the situation as it is now in Trinidad. He going down all the road, taking us quite down the 12th century and telling us all kind of nonsense in the parliament, you know?
Yes.
But just going back to the crucifixion, right? Was it unfair to crucify Christ? Or was it fair?
Well, clearly the evidence is clear that it was unfair, because Pontius Pilate, of course, he abdicated his responsibility. He didn't see any guilt in the man. However, those with pernicious agenda who Christ would have, of course, either threatened in terms of their status and their influence. That is what that was about. Just like this group of persons whose influence and dominance is now threatened. And therefore, of course, they are engaging in all kinds of shenanigans to try to maintain it. And therefore, they would crucify the UNC. They would crucify Kamala in order to get here. So, and that would have been unfair. As it was, of course, in 2015, when Rowley brought those fake emails to our consciousness, and it turned out to be totally false.
So what I'm saying is, why are we undertaking this thing as though we don't read and we don't understand what is going on? So they're taking us for fools.
Yes. Right? But so they believe. Because I don't think that the people are so dense, so obtuse that that because experience really is part and parcel of the whole process, so that you do the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And if the result, of course, is pernicious and evil, and you do the same thing, people will eventually get to know. Just like any wounded animal, a wounded animal will launch back at you. If, of course, if it is cornered, well, they have been cornered, and they are launching back, but of course to no avail, because the people who they are launching at, and that is to say the population at large, they have already sown the seed of no return for them, but they have not seen it. They will die trying. But go ahead.
Right. I'm going ahead. No. I wanna wind up in a little bit.
Yes, go ahead.
But, so that's what I told you the other night.
Yes.
That even with Imbert and all of them,
yes,
they're shooting themselves in the foot no more, you know.
But they shooting themselves in the head now? That's sudden death?
That's what's going on.
I hear you. They shooting themselves not in the feet, but in the head. Well, boy, that's sudden death. Yeah, go ahead.
So, the killing themselves slowly, you know. But my final thing is here. We
go ahead.
Back to with Stuart Young now, right? Is it unfair that he should get, fair or unfair that he should get, his salary was already...
But he knows it. Why think he come in the parliament? He knows it. Yeah, and why I think all the colleagues and them abstain? They know it. And why I think the independent senators abstain? They know it too. Right. And why I think those who agree? Because they know it too.
Yeah. So you see how things can turn back on them.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So you understand? I hope in my contribution here tonight that people don't take me as what? Well, I can't describe a word to get it as yet, but you know.
Yes.
I'm trying to teach people something in the lesson here tonight.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that that it is well received, and all of your references focuses on the substantive matter, that it is unfair. That's the lesson. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah,
it has been unfair, right? And you cannot say that you have been targeted, that you are the subject of something that is ad hominem. All right. Thanks very much. We have a number of persons trying to get in.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
All right. Bye-bye. Yes. Let me take it from here. I'll take it from here. All right, I'll take it from here. All right, so let's take it from the system then. All right, come in and get in there. I'm getting there. Right, okay. We're good. Right, a pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor.
Yes, good night, Mr. Lennox.
Good night to you, my friend. Good night. Good night. Yes.
Mr. Lennox, listen now.
Yeah.
You know, when I hear the minister, the member of parliament, Zaku, that man made some startling revelations, and one of the revelations that I now get to understand is that the police
PTSD.
service, police, right? Yeah, right. TSC, right? Them pay
PTSD.
them cut. Yeah, them pay them cut over $70 million, right? $70 million, right? That they wasn't supposed to pay, and they pay them. And when they pay them that kind of money, right? You know, the money disappear. It going poof. You understand? Mr. Lennox, $70 million. You know $70 million? If you give me a little $5 million, I cool. You know?
Yeah,
Like,
but the story about the parts, I mean, it is phenomenal. I mean, it is inconceivable that could happen in a state enterprise. Now it could happen, but the amount of money involved, and then so you could juxtapose that with the loss of and I'm being generous here, $2 billion, and them comfortable with that. It's no big deal.
Yeah, that is massive corruption, boy.
Yeah.
But listen,
the only conclusion one
I
could
listen
draw.
to Anna Roberts.
Yeah.
I listened to Anna Roberts, and Anna Roberts was talking about WASA and the kind of money. You talking about contractors getting all kind of thing. Like one contractor he started off at 19 million or some kind of thing, so it ended up about 35 million. You know.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
And then Anna Roberts say, well, the Attorney General, a lot of these things already, these files and things already gone to the Attorney General. So we can see between now and whenever these matters come up, a lot of people are gonna get locked up.
I predicted that. Let me put it that way. And you know me, while I am a very modest person, but I always like to be accurate. But all of the evidence shows, all of the palpable, all of the, should I say, probative evidence that you could take to court to, of course, adjudicate upon by the relevant authority or authoritative figures, the judges and the magistrates and so on, clearly shows that they are culpable, and they cannot obfuscate or exculpate themselves from these acts that clearly they would have done. And it is not malfeasance, you know. It's not just malfeasance. Even when it is misfeasance, you know, there's a difference between malfeasance and misfeasance.
Yes.
Malfeasance, of course, when you do a actual wrong, and whether you're conscious or not, but you do an actual wrong. But misfeasance is when you hold the office. So you are prime minister, but then you start to do a set of wrong. You cannot justify it, and therefore you have to be held guilty. You can't say you're prime minister and your job was to see about the people, and you saw about the people in that way, where of course you grind them into powder, you grind them into nothingness, because there's an oath that you took, saying to do all right to all of your citizens at the advanced Trinidad and Tobago. You take an oath to deteriorate, to reduce, to degrade, and to, of course, downgrade Trinidad and Tobago, and you do it blatantly, and you mustn't be held culpable. No misbehavior in public office. Go ahead.
Okay, the next thing is,
yeah,
I watching this CPEP issue, and you remember when I tell you, I said, listen, Faris, right, and Penny, right, but she even with her father, much as her fat, right?
Yes.
Remember I tell you that these people them trying to create a firestorm and create civil unrest?
Yeah. I think that was the perfect term. Maybe that will probably play fire tonight. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was watching the news tonight, and I realized how these people and them, like, they're so unaware. Is either they're blissfully ignorant or they're willfully wicked. That's how I see it, you know.
The latter is the case. They're ignorant at all. All of that is conscious. They know that they have done wrong, but they would not, of course, because they know that we have a system that says innocent until proven guilty. We know that there is a rule of law. We know that there is a process, due process. They know all of that, and of course, most of them are lawyers, so they will wait for the due process. But when the evidence comes, you know, in court, you have two sets of evidence you can advance. You can advance, of course, circumstantial evidence, and you have, of course, what is called irrefutable, tangible, tactile evidence, yeah, concrete evidence, yeah. Well, they have so much concrete evidence. I can't see how anybody could engage in any kind of hypothesis to suggest that a particular thing occurred when the evidence is so blatant. Well, that is what they are facing. But go ahead.
Okay, one more thing is, before I go, listen, I just look at the political channel lately, the parliament channel lately, and I saw this lady from Tobago. She name is something Rajman or the other, a nice looking lady, right? And you know, Mr. Lennox, I was wondering if this woman living in a fantasy world, you know. The woman say PNM, she's a PNM senator. This woman saying how the PNM did well. I don't know.
They believe they are obligated to do that, you know. In the face of the overwhelming evidence that they do total shit, you know.
I couldn't believe it.
Ms. Santa Cruz like to use a term which I have adopted, of course, copophrasia, where, of course, the people are inclined to eat their own filth. Well, that is what they are engaged in now, copophagia.
Boy, well, I want to see Anna Roberts deal with that because he said it. So I'm waiting to see what he had to say about that.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Yes, man. All right, my friend. All right, my friend.
Somebody else a chance.
Yeah. Well, with all these serious matters, and we could still laugh, I think is credit to, of course, our ability to absorb danger, nonsense, total robbery at the treasury of these people and still smile. It shows how balanced a typical Trinbagonian is, and in spite of the difficulties that those actions would bring onto the people, we can still throw a smile. I think that's something that Trinbagonians can share with the rest of the world. But I want to get back to Mr. Faizabad's challenge to me. And I want to respond to it. All right, we have another call. And then I will go to that because I think it will be an injustice if the program is finished by addressing some of the issues that he raised. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Yeah, go ahead, my friend. Yes. When what?
When a wildfire burning.
Yeah, when a wildfire burning, yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. Normally it's got the grass in front of it. So when it reaches that point, the fire dead out. Correct?
Yeah, yes, that's right. Yeah, you create a bridge of non-combustible material. Yeah, okay.
So the fire stop right there.
Yeah.
Well, that curtail that them get in that election, hear them? The government put out the fire. So there are no more fire in them.
Yeah. But because, as you rightly said, they're mad, they imagining that they have fire in them.
Yeah, they still have grass.
Yeah. They seeing dry grass, they seeing petrol and gasoline, all of that. But all of it, when they touch it or try to hold it, is an illusion. Yeah.
It's like a mirage you see it.
Yeah, mirage, yes. That might be a better term. Yeah, like if you're in the desert and you're seeing a whole river, and you're going for that water, but you dive in sand. Nice them. Yeah. That's exactly what they're seeing, a mirage.
Yeah, but here the greatest before.
With what?
They asked one of them today.
Oh.
I think Larry Lala and ex-madman, he goes with them too. Because remember, they may have no lawyers.
Oh yeah. I see Lala join them.
Yeah.
But Lala and them is suckers for stupidity, boy.
Why?
Suckers for stupidity, you know. Before you distance yourself from them and try to salvage something, you really believe, and not to say they don't know, and why I say that they know, because they can't do me nothing. Because prior to them associating themselves with the iniquitous PNM, they were saying that the PNM was, of course, the greatest threat to our democracy and our economy and our society. You notice that? Anita Haynes, and of course, and we could go on and on, the so-called economists from point 14, the young boy with the African name.
I can't remember.
Yeah, all of them were saying that the PNM was bad, that the PNM was evil, that the PNM had no local standard to manage the affairs of the country. You know, so he can't do me nothing because that's what he said. That is what he was advocating prior to gravitating to evil. Obika, that's right, that's the guy. Obika, yeah. All of them.
That jackass, right?
Yeah, he jumped ship at the wrong time, and the way how he has done it, it means therefore nobody could trust him. He was in the opposition leader's office, getting a cushy job there, doing a cushy job there, maybe doing statistics and bringing information. Yeah, and then suddenly he leave the office, nobody knows, and suddenly he ends up in a press conference with the PNM. Why? If the UNC was a country, he's sure to get charged for treason. Yeah.
When they ask them today, also they go to court.
Yeah.
They say they make up their mind as yet.
all of that. Yeah. And look, he would have easily win point 14 now because he's a point 14 boy. He'd have easily win point 14 now, but no.
That's when you take right when you get set up, Lennox.
That's right, exactly.
As you say?
They were poached. Yeah, they were sought after. They were identified, and they were focused upon. And the PNM, of course, Lego the chest, whatever chest it is. Chest here could mean the bare chest, the stomach, well, the cavity called the chest, or it could mean, of course, a treasure chest. A treasure chest. It could be either one. Yeah.
Papa would ship. But as you say, you will work for UNC for free. And you will never work for the PNM.
That's right. And what I am doing right now is in fact so.
Yes.
Right? I didn't have to open no employment facility. I didn't have to engage in recording and inviting people for free. I could do it, if I had to do it, I'd do it as a business. So I am consistent. And I'm glad you mentioned that because there is where I want to go in responding, of course, to Mr. Faizabad. Many, of course, should I say, many part presentation. Let me put it that way.
All right.
Okay? Yes, thanks very much. Because we're going fast to 9:30, and I will be cutting off at 9:30. All right. But let me, thanks. Let me respond to Mr. Faizabad because he made some very salient points. The first thing is that clearly there were sleeping giants waiting to be awakened. And without fear of contradiction, I see myself in that category. In other words, what I am doing now by setting up, of course, this employment facility and resource center, I could have done it under the PNM. But I preferred not to, because all of that would have gone to a waste, because the PNM clearly has a track record of destroying the very best that a community like Laventille could produce, East Port of Spain could produce, because they see that place or these places as a voter bank that assures them a place in the parliament of the country and possibly into government. So they don't business with, of course, creativity and the fact that the people are poor and that they are subjected to the greatest degree of neglect, because they believe that in spite of those experiences, the people will absorb it, and they have said it over the years. So we know, I'm a Lavantillian, so I could tell you, all of them would say that in spite of the protests, they will burn tires, they will block roads. But why is the PNM is in government? But the parliamentarians and the politicians will say, you know, they're coming right back and vote for the PNM. That is the level of disrespect, the level of neglect, and the level of myopia that these people possess, that they don't see the people as people, but they see them as some other object to be manipulated, and as Mr. Faizabad used the term, like pawns in their nefarious games of reducing people and dehumanizing them to grovel, to poverty, and to orchestrate it in such a way that that cycle becomes acceptable across generations. Understand that. That is the PNM. So to answer part of his concern, the question of sleeping giant arises now when, in short, it's less than 2 months. Here it is, we are able, of course, to get into Port of Spain proper, albeit, of course, in Port of Spain, in the east part of Port of Spain, and develop a facility one time covering over 400 people. And if we only advertise, we're in trouble. If we only advertise, we're in trouble, because they're coming from beyond Lavantil and East Port of Spain, etc. So that's one part of it. The other part, of course, is that the PNM itself, where there is creativity and people, of course, on their own volition, decide to do something. I have had the experience where they will tell you, well, listen, when you ask for some help in doing what obviously they could not do but have a responsibility so to do, they tell you frankly in your face, well, we take up the challenge for if you know you want help, if you go want help. Now you take up a challenge, you see 3 or 4 persons, maybe being, of course, good football potential, for example, using an example, and you start to coach them. But during that exercise, you start with 3, but during that exercise, you end up with about 2 or 3 dozen of them. What you do? And you must seek help. They don't see it in that way. They tell you, forget the rest of them, deal with the 3 that you have saved and done with that. That is the PNM. I prefer to work for free for the UNC than to, of course, be engaged in that kind of what I consider to be barbaric, evil, diabolical, and, of course, extremely dangerous group of individuals, as we have seen. So that's what we, and don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, because as soon as they came into office in 2015, got Christopher, a very popular blogger at the time. His popularity has been reduced somewhat, but he opened a homework center in the abandoned health center in Mova, because they got a new health center, so they abandoned the old one. It was refurbished, etc. And as soon as Heinz and them came in, under the auspices of Leons and Heinz, they did not wink or utter a word of resistance. And they closed it down. They took it over because they claim it to be government property, and obviously. And they closed it down. They closed it down, people, because the just as me have been fiercely independent and tell them as it is. And they don't want anybody like that if they could help it. But of course, I'm a different kettle of fish. Whilst they were in government, I hit them for 6, I hit them for 12. And now they're out of government. They're trying, of course, to resuscitate. Well, my job is to drive them into the ground, under the ground, and maybe to get them to the core of the earth, where there is only molten lava, to make sure that they remain there and cannot surface again. I'm using these kinds of analogy or this kind of figurative expression to, of course, invite you out there to develop a similar thought pattern. You may not be as strong as me to withstand 9 years in the financial wilderness, and as creative as I am to survive in such a scenario, begging here, begging there, people seeing what you're doing and they come forward. But surviving as anybody else, because you cannot have a better program like this in terms of the set, in terms of the equipment, etc. And there was a time when, of course, I was at wit's end as to whether or not we'll be able, of course, to continue with the corridor transformation. What we are going now, 4 years, every night. So you understand the lessons here that Mr. Faizabad has invited in tonight's program. But President, good night. Welcome to the corridor, our United States friend. Yes, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
I'll be very quick.
Yeah.
Lennox.
Yeah.
I have one thing to say. I don't know. You might agree with me or disagree with me. That's fine.
Yes.
Lavantil.
Yeah.
That you talk about if you had put any that what you're doing here in Lavantil.
Yeah.
That the PNM will, close it down, whatever, give you a hard time.
Yes.
I assume. But the people of Lavantil, and they will still go back and put them again. So it's not the PNM fault. Part of PNM, people fault. But it's their fault. They choose that. If you know something is not going right, why you want to put back again? You get to my point?
Yeah.
Right? So, whilst I living in Trinidad for many, many years, Lavantil and it became a PNM source, of the voters for many, many years.
Yes.
So, the people who live in there is mostly, I assume, mostly Grenadian. Am I right?
Mm.
Huh? So they're feeling that they're obligated to Dr. Eric Williams, that they should keep the tradition going. So that's the way. And they pass it on to their children.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of time may be right or wrong, correct me. So, think about. You know what I mean? All right.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm going to respond by anecdote, story that Mr. Amar told us some time ago, and I think it is relevant to the caller's argument, because I agree with him, because there's something other than logic and common sense. There's something other than acting in your best interest that is at play, that is in operation in such circumstance. How the hell you could act against your own best interest and promote another person, a few of them, by they telling you, well, listen, stick with me, don't matter what. And sometimes they bring, of course, texture of hair and color of skin. And sometimes, of course, when that is not suited, they bring necromancy, and they bring a broom and sweeping out, and so on and so forth. All of that is the PNM Whilst, of course, they're building big, cannot be accounted for by the house. And they themselves living voluptuously because they spare no effort to demonstrate that they were in the best. I saw Dolly one day and we had to comment on it. A very expensive shoes. A pointy tip. She came to one of our Baptist holiday sessions. And she was literally like she fallen down in the shoe. But kill her dead because it is expensive and so on because they have the money. She was determined to walk in it even though she can't walk in it. And it was a standing joke when we saw her trying to climb up the different steps and was twisting and nearly spraining her ankle in the shoes. But it looked expensive and clearly it would have been expensive, so she figured she had to wear it. And that is the level of abuse. And I'm relating that, of course, to the fact that you had people in Lavatel who they are saying, don't change. While they eat nicely and excessively, while the people of them have nothing. Let's take this call. Let us take this call. This is a Tobago call. I would love to hear this call. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Good night, this Silver Fox here.
Yes, man, Silver Fox. Told them it's Tobago. Go ahead, man. Even yourself are closing down. Are closing up. I can't ignore a man like you. So go ahead, my friend.
All right. What I really see for my own self, the people of Lavatel are not pawns. They are not pawns. Listen to something. Now, what happened to these people? They don't love themselves. The majority of them, they love a party, right? They love the party called PNM. They don't like them own selves. Now, they will take pressure, any kind of pressure, once the PNM give it to them. Watch out what happened on the beat up. As if I failed, what do people do? They protest. They go for days without stinking something until they fix it, right? But if it was like Kamala was in power and that film come there, they want that to see about immediately, right? Lavatel would have burn. So the people of Lavatel have to understand. They have to tread different waters if they want to get out of the swamp.
Yes.
Right? You can't have your mind one track. You can't be canal minded. And these people decided they're not giving up the PNM.
Caller, just hold on. We have, of course, Mr. Silver Fox on the line. We'll take you in a while. Go ahead, Mr. Silver Fox.
They have to understand that times change, right? But they're not understanding the times change. When there was in 19, now in 2000. And they still hold on to the one mentality. We love PNM, regardless to with pressure, with pain, with headache. We can't go to the bank, we can't get jobs because we're holding on to something that we shouldn't be holding on to. And they keep one way all the time. Don't care what happened. You could offer them orange, you could offer them sliced bread, you could offer them cake. At the end of the day, they go into the people they're voting for, the people who don't like them. And
just
they
imagine
like the
that.
because they don't like themselves.
Yeah, that requires some serious psychological analysis, and social analysis, and of course we have done it, so I will give you my views as well. But go ahead.
They have to understand, life is not about one man or two men. Everybody has to understand that. They are under pressure. They know they're under pressure. And they're still voting for pressure.
As if you're committing suicide. As if you're suicidal. It's a strange thing, but it's a fact.
Right? So what they should do, they should get down. I think they could change. But what they have to do, they have to give up. You see, some people gamble, some people drink. And if they go to the place and say, well, carry them for treatment, they're not saying, well, I am an alcoholic.
Yeah, they can't admit to themselves, and therefore they delay whatever, yeah, whatever remedy, whatever solution. Yeah.
If you own it,
Yeah.
you can get rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah, they have to. It has to become conscious. We'll talk about it later.
They're not owning the problems, and this is the problem of until it's going through.
Yeah. All right, my friend.
Yes, man.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, indeed. Go ahead, caller. Go ahead, caller on the main system. Go ahead.
Hi, Lennox. How are you tonight?
Hey, I'm fine. I'm fine. Hey, Miss Madras. Long time no hear from, man. Yeah. How are you going?
For sure.
Yes. Good, It's a refreshing voice to the program, man. Go ahead. Wow, like you have other people just calling back now. Go ahead. Go ahead. You go ahead.
Well, every so often I'll listen to your program, and then I'll get into the internet and read other stuff. But I think I want to address Laventil because I think that's a very. Can you hear me? Oh.
You go ahead. You go ahead, Miss Madras. I'm talking to somebody on the phone. You're not supposed to hear me. You might see me engaged in conversation elsewhere. All right. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
Lennox, this is Trinidad, so don't worry about it. No big deal. Um, I coming from. All right. So what I want, so I'm gonna make my comment while you're on the phone, I guess. Um,
All right. Let me take it off. So I've cut it off. Go ahead, Miss Madras.
Okay, I'll make it quick because I know you have like a few more
minutes. Yeah. We are.
Right.
Time constraint.
Lennox, right. Lennox, I left here when I was 12. And when I left here in the 70s, actually, yeah, it was the 70s, busing had just started in New York City where they were bringing in children, African American children from other neighborhoods and bringing them into white neighborhoods. And the school I went to was a primarily Jewish school. But when I left in Trinidad, secondary education had just started, like the Five Rivers Junior High School. I think junior secondary, that's what they called it, right?
Yes.
And so I never really, right. So that was the first time coming from a small village like in Madras Road, where we villagers, because all of us went to the Hindu school, it was an Indian village. But when we went to secondary school, we were exposed to government-funded education. And let me tell you, the experience that we had, I'm talking about, again, I talk to people of my generation, and we all agree that we were very much discriminated in the government public schools.
Okay.
Now, I say this because when we went to Five Rivers, there were kids coming from a lot of very rural, urban areas in Port of Spain to Five Rivers, surrounding communities. And they never really socialized with Indian kids.
Okay.
And it was like we lived separately, kind of. Like we went to school, but we were scared of them. And they just kind of, I always felt like they kind of bullied us because they had more street experience, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I hear you.
And in those days, right, in those days, Dr. Williams was the prime minister. But he never really did much to integrate the races.
Yes.
He never did much to bring us together as a one nation.
Yeah.
He kept us separated to divide us and conquer us. And I say this because when I visit Trinidad for the few years I've come back, I only stayed for a week, and this is the first time I've been here for for almost 10 years now, and I came back during the PNM.
Yes.
And in my village of Madras Road now, we have a lot of apartments, and we get a lot of people from Laventil, some from Beetham, and they rent in our community, and they love this village.
All right.
And they shop in the supermarkets. They shop in my snow cone shop. They come in there. They're buying houses. They're working, and they're really trying to kind of make it. Some of them still renter, but we have a growing middle class Trini Afro population in our community, and they're living in beautiful houses, and their children go to good schools. Some of them go to the Hindu schools. And I am just kind of blown away how we kind of took it upon ourselves in this village, even though there is some discrimination or whatever, people feel it. But there is a sense of community where everybody trying to shop with each other and you're kind of living together. But I feel like the stereotype that we have of people outside our community will always live there unless we we bring the communities together and we do some form of development where affordable housing is in communities that maybe, it should be nice for everybody to live in different communities if there's good affordable housing. But we don't see that. That inequity divide is so wide that people still calling and saying, them people from Port of Spain, them people from Port of Spain, them people from Beetham. And I feel like, I don't know if the UNC could do this, but to not just treat people where, if they're Afro-Trinis, where Indians feel like, oh, she giving them everything and they wouldn't vote for she. Because that's the mentality, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I feel like it should be across the whole board where everybody gets treated equally and where we do have access to good jobs, and it's not just based because your family's connected to this person, you're getting a job. But it's because it's open to everybody.
What is your view? What is your view quickly on the converse, where of course the in an attempt to keep the people in psychological, or should I say intellectual bondage, the argument is that, listen, them will never not vote for the Indian party, and therefore you should of course stick to your so-called African party. What has that come across your mind, and what is your conclusion?
I think it's still there. I feel like there's that hatred, and you read it on social media a lot.
Okay.
Where that it's like, oh, it's a feel good when the Indian people win, and it's a feel good when an Afro-Trini wins.
Well, let me tell you, I asked you that question for a specific reason. Let me tell you why. Because they would ask me why you are gravitating to the Indian party. It's very simple.
Yeah.
The Indian
and people say you want a job. People complain. They say you want a job.
Let me tell you the answer. When the African party is in government, they disregard, and of course put their own African brothers and sisters in shame. The opposite is the case with the and let me make the case on the other side as well. When the Indian party is in office, the Indians and they see no reason why they must change, because of course they can see progress, they can see advancement, etc. So it's chalk and cheese, and it's two different scenarios. And we have to accept that for what it is. That is why eventually the Indian party will dominate, because the African party clearly betrays their own kind when they get into office. Very, very, very simple. But go ahead. Yes.
I agree with you there. I don't think I think it's more like a window dress. Like when they have their supporters who serve on the party, like Sagram Singh, that woman who was
those who have been acclimatized to the nepotism and cronyism and so on. Because you have Indians
it's not just that. It's like they're extreme. They're extremists.
But you have
Indians who are the most extreme.
You have Indians who have acclimatized. In fact, we call them, they have become PNMIs, meaning that they could not see the light of day in the UNC. Those Indians that are the PNM. But the PNM, because they want to appear to be nationalistic and have cross-pollinate in terms of ethnicity, and they have to have some Indian presence in the party, they then accommodate them, give them, of course, handsome positions, etc., give them part of the treasury in order for them to stay there, so as to give the illusion that they are a national party and that they are across the board. But that is part and parcel of the elusive the illusion makeup. Let me put it that way. Go ahead.
But it's not just that too. I think when the PNM is in power, they allow the exploitation of people of their own, own nationality or race, if you want to call it, because they cater to the 1% that own all the factories. And you tend
I was going there.
Well
Said. I was going right there. I was going right there. They abandoned them for that small group of individuals who have the 80% probably of the private wealth in the country. Well said. Beautiful analysis. Go ahead.
Because there is a link. I was taking an arbitration class at the chamber a few years ago. This is probably 2016, 17. I was taking this class there, and it was in Westmoreland. And every morning it was a 2-week crash course, I think it was, and I did pass it, thank goodness. But anyway, not using it much these days. But I used to drive through Westmoreland just to see the houses, and just to see the neighborhood near the chamber.
Yes.
And I'll share something with you. I used to get there like around 5:30, 6 o'clock, because the classes began like at 7, 8 o'clock. So you have to wait, because to drive from Madras Road to Port of Spain, which should be a 20-minute drive, takes 3 hours or 4 hours, which is ridiculous. But when I used to drive, and I used to drive through these neighborhoods, every morning around like before 6 o'clock, you would see all these women, and they're Afro-Trini women dressed in uniforms, going to work as servants in these rich houses that are owned by the 1%.
Yes, I've had several experiences of that.
And it still goes on to this day. And it's like...
Yeah, it goes on to today. Yeah, I agree with you. Yes.
And I think that class differentiation, like those people who are working as servants, their children will probably become servants too, because they're providing food, they give you enough to live, but not to rise up.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, not to advance. Yes, to become independent of them. Yeah.
And many of them, they don't recognize it because they've become complacent now, because to be honest, they're just living paycheck to paycheck.
Yes.
And so it's hard to find a better job, and you have to know somebody to get out of it. I do want to say that it reminds me of Calypso Rose. She wrote a song about how her grandmother was a maid, and they were making like $1 a week or something.
Yeah.
And Eric Williams, she sang the song, and he got notice of it, and then he raised the wage for servants.
Yes.
And so I feel like,
and mind you, that is the part of the conditioning to accept your circumstance and not graduate out of it.
I'll give you a good example too. I was at Gary Aboud's office one day. He has that Motor Live company, and when I went, and you could go into any company office and you could make a comment about the staff, but it was during the holidays, and almost all of the employees were young Afro-Trinis. I didn't see any Indian girls working in there. And I was like, what? I just, I don't know, that kind of blew my mind there. And I said to myself, this is so serious, like, we need to recognize.
And mind you, that fella will make the argument that, listen, he has created a business and have given, of course, Africans jobs. Yes, that full stop. As part and parcel of that complex web of conditioning tools to keep them where they are, when they should be ambitious enough to say, well, listen, I want to be an Abu too, and I want to observe how he got there, at my own, But once they go in there, they will have a different attitude from the boss man.
Yeah, of course, you see.
Yeah.
But I'll make one more comment, and you tell me what you think of this.
Yeah, go ahead.
But you know Atalock Jack, right?
Yes.
So his son owns a candy company now.
Yes. KC Confectionaries. Yeah.
Well, he made a new chip, and it's called Deo chips. And I thought, why, like Deo. Daylight come, mommy, want to go home. Come,
so
Mr.
that's African slavery on the plantation chant.
With the yes.
Okay.
Yes, and it's bringing back the Deo, just like the Mabel's label, where
so he's exploiting, of course, that horrible experience to make it look just as how people are wearing slave bands and so on, and they call it a slave band, and they have to ignore the symbolism and the historical antecedent or association. But of course, only wear it because it is beautiful looking on your feet, and they call it or on your ankles, and they call it, of course, around your ankles, and they call it, of course, a slave band. And you must feel comfortable with that name. I mean, it is amazing, really.
Yeah, but I wanted to ask you something. You ever went
All
to
right,
that
well,
Auntie
I have
Karen?
another caller
I should let
coming,
you go.
so
Okay, I'll let you
I
go.
know we could
But
talk
we
all
talk.
night,
We
but we have
no, we
tomorrow
did.
night as well. All right?
All right, take care, Lennox, and thanks for giving me all the
Yeah,
answers.
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for, of course, gracing us with your presence. Let's go to the line. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Just let me make sure that we have you there. Pleasant good night. Go ahead.
Yes, good night.
Yes, good night, my friend.
Back to the discussion with the Prime Minister from India.
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Mr. Narendra Modi.
Yes.
Right. So you were speaking the last time about the team that went to India, right?
Yes.
And they had a few of them they learned
Yes.
to come back here and do that replacing electricity to the house, as we were speaking about.
Oh, yeah. We're talking about, we are focusing on solar energy technology.
Solar energy.
Technology, yes.
Technology, right.
Yes.
Remember a few of the youth that you all sent, they were studying that and they came back here.
Yes.
Right. So I think that's a very good one for Trinidad and Tobago to pick up.
Yeah.
And for us to promote that from India, that type of business.
Yeah, that's a whole
Trinidad.
new industry for Trinidad. And many people were talking about the economic, should I say, position of the then government. Not so inclined because energy, fossil fuel is cheap. But of course, you have to be myopic and downright stupid to understand that at least at this point in time, you have to have a hybrid system where you use renewable, which of course is solar, and you use, of course, what is called wasting energy, because when you take oil from the ground, you can't put it back. It's not like planting a tree and you could, of course, get another one by planting another seed. So we need to pursue that kind of diversification, if you want to call it that. Yeah.
I agree with that because
Yes.
I mean the whole world is going.
Caller, hold on. We have another caller on the line, on the handphone.
Yeah, you're very busy tonight.
Yeah, boy. Go ahead. And I'm supposed to cut off and say I'm going to 9:30, not 10 o'clock. Well, I see this 10 o'clock already. But go ahead.
I want to highlight.
Yeah.
The CPEP group, right? When you multiply 11,000 by 300. And the contractors, that's 30 person and odd per contractor, per team that's going out there to work.
Yeah.
I do think they have so much. It's normally around 10 person works on a gang. So why are looking as though it's 30 something person working on one gang? A gang have 2 cutters, 4 person hold those poles so the cars would not get damaged when they're cutting. Then they have those that scrape and clean with a rake.
Mm-hmm.
So when you multiply 11,000 workers, as they are saying, to 300 contractors, the math is not adding up.
Yeah, well, you know, with the PNM, things will never add up. They revel in confusion so that you would get so frustrated that you will leave them to their nefarious acts. But we cannot afford it. This country cannot afford it, and therefore we will have to examine critically every single thing, cross every T and dot every I.
So then the government is right in what they are doing?
Yes, of course, in re-evaluating and, of course, examining. And then, of course, at the end of the day, you get rid of those political appointees, which, of course, is what they really are. Al-Rari and the others could, and Penalgu Beckles could jump high, they could jump low, they could scream to the mountain, haul the tails. The fact of the matter is that when they were in office, they did that, and they cannot, of course, be out of office and want to have these people still in office to undermine the present administration. That is not tenable. It's impossible.
And that is the norm. That is the norm of every government that comes in.
Of course. You get rid of those persons who...
And all appointees.
That's right. Will not pursue your agenda. What you're doing, comforting and hugging up with your enemy to pursue your agenda. Obviously, they are somebody else's, of course.
Remember,
pawn.
Basil Pandey take a licking for that when he said he will.
Kamala took it in 2010 in the early days. I remember criticizing her for that. So I can tell you, I didn't get an appointment on several boards under 3 years. It's after 3 years, then I said, because when they realized that what we were saying was right, that you cannot have, of course, you can't keep the URP people, you can't keep that you inherited from the PNM, you can't keep the CPM people, you cannot keep, of course, the forest reforestation people close to you. You matter what, they will undermine your tail because they are PNM
They
or
will undermine
oriented.
and right, and they will bring down the government slowly but surely.
Surely, that's right. And when they realized that, it was a bit too late, because Rowley came on the scene and he invented, of course, email and, of course, extract all he could politically with, of course, Rishmi and, of course, Section 34, all of which turned out, the last two turned out to be a storm in a teacup. But, of course, the emails was a total and absolute lies. But it brought down the government.
Right.
Yeah.
But now that the government is in party ruling now, can they bring back that to the forefront and prove, because they didn't get a chance?
Well, I
to
suppose
speak
they
out.
will in the
The
fullness
media
of
was
in
against
the fullness of time. Rowley must pay for that iniquity. I think that is treasonous. Accusing a certain prime minister of actually conspiring to kill a journalist. That to me is the ultimate in treason. You know, and Rowley must pay for that. Somehow we cannot waltz into government and waltz out of government unscathed. Nah.
And if I'm correct, it was also backed up by the journalist, sir, so he shall not escape.
No, it was a conspiracy to fall the government at the day, and they did fall.
But the journalist also is part of it.
Well, yeah, because we are saying it might be Hegel or wherever it is and so on, and therefore all of that, whether it takes a commission of inquiry or the evidence is such that you can, of course, take unilateral action as far as the police is concerned.
Action.
Yeah, unilateral by the police, and the police do the investigation. They, of course, let the chips fall where they may.
Because you see now, Uncle Lennox, it's time to make an example.
Yeah, you have to. So you
do not
and I think Jeremy is on course, the present Attorney General. He's on course to do that. You notice in Parliament, he told them, I would be at war with you, and he, of course, specifies certain individuals, Alrari, etc. So I know that they are trembling in their pants, and that the Bamsi is palpitating like, of course, a runaway heart. Yeah.
Okay, my friend, I think,
yes.
As you say, somebody else is on the line, so
yes,
I'll give them a chance.
And of course, I want to thank you, of course, for your continued input on this program, as well as, of course, your splendid vote of thanks in the exercise this morning. I look into the papers tomorrow to see what they would say. You know, they love to twist things. So let me see what they would say about the fact that we were specific. We attacked the opposition for their efforts to try to destabilize the country and the government. And then, of course, we did in fact say our association with the Indian government, and by virtue of the present or in this country, the High Commission here. Mm-hmm. All right?
Okay, my friend. Uncle Lennox, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Bye-bye. Yes, indeed. All right, people, I ain't taking any more calls. I have to go. It's after 10. I say I'm finishing 9:30. Only taking sleep and rest for me. So, I have a video to play. I wouldn't even play it. But only a piece of it, only to let you know that those persons who are saying that Moody will get the highest national award and why, well, he has been getting that all over the world. United States, France, many of the Caribbean countries. Why? Because of the role that India played with he at the helm as Prime Minister in India in providing, of course, vaccine. The AstraZeneca vaccine, remember that one? That was the first one that came on the market, and he distributed that free of charge. Trinidad and Tobago is the only place that did not apply after they said they were giving it away. But it was Barbados in their supply from India gave Trinidad and Tobago 1,500 doses. And then Rowley is such an ass, telling us that, listen, he didn't know. How them know? And of course, we know now that he made himself a fool when he said that the High Commissioner here should have contacted he. They're making an offer to you. And then, of course, he bites his own tongue. He bites your own tongue. I don't want to say shut himself in the feet or put both feet in his mouth when he said that Trinidad and Tobago in begging for nothing. Damn fool. When, of course, and still acknowledging that no small country like Trinidad could have gotten any of these vaccines because the richer countries gobbled up all in the early days of the availability of these vaccines to inoculate people against, of course, COVID-19. People have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. Of course, don't forget tomorrow morning from 6 o'clock, the ground report, Andy, Michael, and myself, as we continue with these and others. But let me just give you a little piece of the fact that Moody got awards all over the world, just to make certain that those naysayers and those uninformed ignoramus, you must tell them all the tales, or the ignorant. And ignorant here doesn't mean hasty. Ignorant means lack of knowledge. Dotish people. Let's get some of it.
Unity and efforts in strengthening bilateral ties with the two Caribbean nations, the India and Dominica ties. Barbados has also announced to honor the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi with the prestigious Honorary Order of Freedom of Barbados. Earlier, the Indian Prime Minister was also conferred Nigeria's Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger. The prestigious distinction makes him only the second foreign dignitary to receive it, a testament to his global standing and leadership. These latest awards are yet another feather in his cap. Over the years, PM Modi has been honored by countries and organizations around the world for his exceptional leadership and contributions. Some of these awards include: in July this year, PM Modi officially received Russia's most prestigious civilian honor, the Order of St. Andrew the Apostle, which was bestowed upon him in 2019. The award recognizes PM Modi's distinguished contribution to developing a privileged strategic partnership between Russia and India and fostering friendly ties between the two countries. On March 22, 2024, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was conferred the Order of Druk Gyalpo, Bhutan's highest civilian decoration, by the King of Bhutan in a public ceremony at Thimphu. On 25th August 2023, the Indian Prime Minister was conferred with the Grand Cross of the Order of Honor by President Katerina Sakellaropoulou of Greece. On July 13, 2023, PM Modi was conferred with France's highest award, the Grand Cross of the Legion of Honor in Paris. On June 25, 2023, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi conferred the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi with its highest civilian award, the Order of the Nile in Cairo. On May 22, 2023, PM Modi was conferred the highest honor of Fiji, the Companion of the Order of Fiji, in recognition of his global leadership. Only a handful of non-Fijians have received this honor to date, the Prime Minister's office had said back then. On December 21, 2020, the US President Donald Trump conferred the highest decoration, the Legion of Merit, Degree Chief Commander, to PM Modi. On August 20...
You don't need any more higher recognition than that. No higher than that. Biden, United States, bestowed an award, the highest award in the United States on demand. But these nincompoops here, totally ignorant, they don't read. They don't confine themselves to information gathering before they speak. And when they can't talk to people like me, and they must not be able to talk to people like you once you know, because education is about moving people from the known to the unknown. And now that you know, anybody come to you and tell you that, of course, Trinidad and Tobago should not be bestowing the highest award when he comes here tomorrow and the following day, you must tell them where to get off. In other words, hold the tail. Hold the tail. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless, and see you, of course, tomorrow, as I said, on the ground report, Andy, Mikey, and myself, as we continue with these and other matters. Let me just, of course, end as we started. Fire burn all of them. Fire burn them. The two bloody, wicked Trinbagonians.
begging the master, give me a walk with Peter. If I some sinners coming, with them I go be dealing. Because the things that they do me, I want to fix them personally. Peter wait, Peter look Cecil Rhodes by the gate. Peter look the Englishman, we send Cecil Rhodes to Africa land.